Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's a beautiful day out. The temperature is 64 degrees. The humidity is 42. And the wind, they say, is at 2.2 miles an hour, according to Thomas Jefferson and his friends in the Weather Bureau. So where are we? Well, I'm speaking to you from Northern Virginia. And that's relevant politically this year because we have a race for the top spots in the legislature in Virginia. And the top of our ticket is plainly ahead of the Republicans, which would be great. We'd be replacing a Republican governor. And there is, of course, some noise in these campaigns, but we'll see if they hold out. There's a lot of absentee ballots surrendered, myself included and Holly's included. And we've been pressing the flesh when we can, trying to make a difference. So I expect we're going to win Virginia. New Jersey is going to be closer. New York, it looks like we're going to elect a Democratic mayor that makes the wealthy nervous and anxious. And in California, we have a big fight for the redistricting, and that the governor has decided to respond to the foul play of Republicans in Texas and elsewhere by arranging a manner of choosing districts for this election that would allow us to offset the perfidy, misconduct, miscalculation, corrupt and unconstitutional efforts of the Republicans. In short, if you're going to change the rules so that you try to gain an advantage in the House, not by the voters, but by how you draw lines, choosing your voters to make up your districts, to make up who controls Congress. Yeah, we could sit there and do nothing, which is, I guess, what you hope to do, but California's not doing that. Now, at different times in my life, I have observed Schwarzenegger in politics, and, he's not my cup of tea, I suppose. But as tolerant as I was after he left the governor's mansion, I didn't think there was any problem about him talking about fitness and so forth, whatever drugs he was taking that compromised his life, but gave us years of entertainment. And I find that he is opposing Governor Newsom's efforts to rejigger for this election the districts so that we can combat what the Republicans are doing. So, Schwarzenegger is off my list. Years ago I gave up Wiener Schnitzel, which I loved before I was 40, and I became a vegetarian. And so now, and because of the past, I'm writing off Schwarzenegger. And I'm hoping that the Democrats and the independents and properly upset Republicans who believe rules matter and the Constitution matters will carry the effort over the finish line in the days ahead. What are we looking for? We're looking for wins, but we're looking for trends in voters, how they've changed from the presidential election to this election, how they feel about Trump. And this is going to be, in large part, a referendum on Trump. I mean, California, what else is it about? If we're redistricting because they want to make an end run around the rules of how to run an honest and straight and equanimous election, and the Republicans are cheating to give them continued control of the House, well, that's just not going to stand. And then the races in Virginia and New Jersey give us an indication of what voters want as compared to what they wanted in the presidential election. And the mayoralty, we already have a strong message that the people are upset about the dialogue, including the dialogue between Democrats and the wealthy. I think The Guardian, I saw a really good review, and I recommend it. Even if you don't agree with him, he touches all the bases. His name's Solomon, which in this case could be quite appropriate. The wisdom of Solomon, lawgiver. And what he talks about is that the Democrats are doing the same old, in the sense that they're so wed to the wealthy that they're afraid to step out of that lane and represent the people. But if there was ever a time when the conflict was not only apparent, but necessary to adjust, it is now. The excess of this regime to take from the people their participation, if you will, in the ability of the United States to take care of the wealthy, the middle class, the lower class, to take care of people without regard to color, to take care of people without regard to origin, to have a large net for free speech that stops short of certain actions like inciting people to take over the government. And so what we're talking about is a whole way and manner of politics that we've had, as imperfect as it was, but is exceedingly preferred as compared to the autocratic and dumb and stupid and hateful and harmful and unsuccessful revisions that are made in the name of, freeing the people. The people want this. Well, the people didn't vote on these things last year, and they were told the opposite of what's going on. I mean, play back Trump's thing about, I wouldn't touch Social Security, I wouldn't touch Medicare, I wouldn't touch Medicaid, all these things. And the real additional problem is that truth is errant. Now you see it, now you don't. It changes. And the key to any agreement, any compact between the people and its government is that if you say something, you do it or explain why you didn't do it and how you do it better and what we can do instead. But we don't have that kind of a government. We don't have the kind of civics lesson government that we were educated to believe was the good and fair government. And whenever you're dealing with people, perhaps, there's always a component, a fraction, that doesn't give a damn about everybody else. And we have to deal with that. And the way we deal with it in the here and now is Election Day. We're going to send a message, I hope, and we'll have to visit it and see if the message was sent. And to the extent it wasn't sent and isn't received, I think that says we have to bring clarity to our message. Clarity that what's going on is a breakup of the cooperation we had now years ago between the wealthy and everyone else. Sure, they get special consideration for bringing their fortune to the table, but then to allow them to take more than is their fair share and to take from the workers the labor that makes it possible, and to shun the people who by age or illness are unable to have sufficient food to live, or health care to survive, or education to enjoy opportunity and prosperity. So this is our challenge, and it may not be life or death, but it is about liberty and freedom, and that can be about life and death. So we had Speaker Johnson today on the Talking Heads say, no, people are blaming the Democrats. No, they're not. The polls, see, they lie even about the polls, things that are available to the public. They assume people don't read, don't think, and they can say anything. And why they believe they're heard, I guess, is because they go through that one echo chamber, Fox, and some others. And because it's about the wealthy versus the rest of us, what we're seeing is it's affecting the kind of news we get. The Sunday Times is thinner on the juicy stories that involve politics than it was. The Washington Post as well. What we're getting is diminished. And people who have podcasts, some of them are excellent, and they're talking about things that people don't know. But if you want to have establishment press that's also fair and telling the story, you have to look abroad. Look at The Guardian. Look at BBC. You have a better chance of balancing out the failure to cover certain things in our current corporate media ownership, so that we have an idea and can have an informed consent on what makes sense in America. Can you imagine a worse tableau than to have Trump have a Great Gatsby party at his playhouse at Mar-a-Lago, while others have no jobs or are being furloughed? They have no health. They have no food. How can you do that and not be damned? And I mean that in the classic sense, that you should be damned, ostracized, punished, made to give an accounting for failing to preserve and protect our Constitution, which includes the general welfare. Now, you bridge that with tearing down, so no one gets to say a word about it, the East Wing of the White House. Well, now people are saying, what do we do now? I'll tell you what you do. No goddamn building goes up while this guy is president. Stop it. We don't spend a dime on the East Wing. And I had considered the notion before that maybe there's such a stain on the presidency and on our government that we should knock down the whole thing and build up a new White House dedicated to the people. That is the people's house. Not some retreat like a summer cottage for the wealthiest people in the world. That's not what this is about. So, insensitive, you think? But it's more than insensitive. It is the new method of operation against all of us, that we don't count. And that's not acceptable. Now, I don't know if you saw Congresswoman Green on TV on the Bill Maher show the other day. She believes in demons. Now, some of you may remember how Carl Sagan spoke about demons, and that those people who believe in demons and what all of that means. And there are people who do, and she's apparently one of them. And she thinks the demons are fallen angels. And she thinks that these fallen angels may be the aliens. They're falling from the heavens. You know, we talk about cognitive command of a person when Trump can identify a deer or an elephant or whatever the hell it is. And he doesn't understand. The point is, have you so lost it that you look at this animal and you don't know what it is? And there's a lot he doesn't know in the classical sense. It's not even about cognitive. The man was never a student of anything about the corrupt deal. And he doesn't do it himself. Even the book that says The Art of the Deal, he didn't write it. Is it his ideas? No, the author. He couldn't tell you what's in that book because he doesn't read. We know he doesn't think. I'll take a couple of other examples. We have the FBI fires a long-tenured agent involved in the fleet, meaning transportation in part. And what do we have? Patel had one of the jets, the government jets, take him to watch his girlfriend sing the anthem at a wrestling match. So they fire that guy. Oh, you have to have a body, you know. Can't be Patel. Here's looking at you. Are you sure? And then Governor Pritzker asked that ICE and company, just lay off the people for the weekend. They couldn't do it. They had to be out there messing around, canceling parades, arresting people or harassing them. But what I want to finish with, which I realized over the days, is because I look for stories in different ways, probably you do too, and I've noticed that our territorial organs of news are getting thinner in the class of stories about how our government is doing us in. It's a dilution of the truth, but the range is from white lies to large whoppers. And this information is critical to us to know what's going on, to know how we exercise our influence, such as it is, particularly in elections, to support A or B as a proposition or a candidate. So we seem to have, it seems to me, ever tightening restraints on the messages and the information that we get. And it's been constructed in such a way that the authors of this muzzle include the deep pocket Ayn Rand Dems. Yes, I'm saying that not only do we come up short from the Republicans, there's beginning to be a state news, meaning what the White House says, that's the news. They've already shuffled off anybody at the Defense Department who was covering the news because they intended to control it, which sounds like the kind of thing you'd do if you wanted to have a secret war. Remember Iran-Contra? Remember weapons of mass destruction? Well, we got another one, and this one could be South America, could be the Middle East, could be the Far East. And at the pinnacle of the decision-making is a man who can't find his hefty hindquarters with both hands, deciding our foreign policy based on whims, uncontrolled by differing advice. And so that's the challenge to America. And I think the vectors are favoring us more and more, and that we're making adjustments that counter the constraints that Trump and company want. And the illumination of pain by the fact that now these policies will visibly and actively hurt people allows us to know that we're right, that Trump is wrong for America. Always was, but now more are realizing it. Will we succeed? Have we waited too long? Well, let's start by looking at what happens on the Tuesday elections. So I say goodbye to you from our Cathedral of Trees. All the best. Bye-bye.